Every once in a while in your life, you're going to be challenged as a Christian with having to lay something on the altar. And laying something on the altar means that it has to die. Or you have to demonstrate that your love for God is greater than that thing that God is asking you to sacrifice. In this case, it's going to be a father is going to lay on the altar his son. And obviously, it's an obvious picture of what Jesus did for us. And so we're going to go through the chapter, we'll read through it, and we'll teach the chapter. But at the end, what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about where we live. And there's an element within this that, man, this is kind of what we're confronted with literally on a daily basis in life. And so I want to pull that aspect out of it, and how do we navigate through the difficulties of life, the challenges of life, the warfare of life, and those types of things. Because that's personally where we live. We struggle with that stuff on a daily. And so that's what I want to draw towards the end. But just let's teach the chapter. Let's see what the Word of God has to say. We've been going through the Bible. We're in Genesis 22. And God called this guy out of Ur of the Chaldees, this guy Abram. And he told him that he's going to build a nation through him, through his offspring. And Abraham and his wife Sarai at the time, they try to help God out, and they have this work of the flesh, if you will, and they present it to God, and God's like, no, something's actually going to come from your loins, and it's going to come through your wife, Sarah. So I don't receive the work of your hands. I don't want you, and I don't need you to help me in the things that I do. I need to be glorified. I need to be honored in your life. And so as we go through life, sometimes the Lord checks us in those areas as we present the offerings of our hands, and God says, yeah, that's not how I roll. So in that, we get to this place where, man, God is going to ask Abraham to do something that is unthinkable. He's going to ask him to literally human sacrifice his son, to kill his son, to lay him on an altar and to kill him. And how you and I can apply that is just think of the most precious thing in your life and the most precious things that come into your life, and they have to have their rightful place. They have to have their rightful order. And so those things are elevated in our lives because there's so much, right, love and so much meaning behind what those things represent. And hopefully they're not your car, but they're people. Hopefully it's not like, well, yeah, that's why I polish it every weekend. No, it's material things, they come and go. But hopefully it's people, right? And these relationships that we have. And Jesus would be so audacious to say, if your love for me in comparison and contrast to your love for anyone else doesn't look like hate, then you're not worthy of me. And we think, was that hyperbole? Jesus, what are you saying? That seems rather exaggerated, right? Our love for God has to be first. Our love for God has to be preeminent. And so we are going to be challenged when we put things out of order. Because when we put things out of order, especially as it relates to people, it's only a matter of time before we will be let down. And God doesn't want to see us let down. He wants to see us thriving. He wants to see us living in the way that He prescribes.